Hey everyone, my name is Steve, and I'm joined by Barry and Greg. And today we're going to be talking about Snufkin Melody of Moominvalley. So, Snufkin Melody of Moominvalley is a rich musical adventure about Snufkin restoring the valley and helping this quirky and memorable characters and critters who are calling it home. And this whole entire story of the Moomin world has been around for a really long time. But for the most part, those of us here in the United States are probably not as familiar with this whole world. So it was started by a lady named Tove Jansson, and she was born in 1914, started her first book in 1945, and drew these amazing storybook characters, and they just come to life over time. But this is the first time that we're seeing it in a video game. She has since passed in 2001, but her stories live on, and now we have the Moomin universe coming to video games, and it's going to be here on Switch very soon. So, Barry, what was your experience with this game?
Yeah, so I had no prior experience with the Moomin universe. I didn't know what they were. I didn't even know what I was really getting into. I was just like, all right, let's see what happens. And I was really surprised by the charm of this game. Like, I kind of expected, like, all right, maybe I'll play it, for an hour here and to see how it goes. And I wound up sitting and beating the entire game in one sitting. And it's like a 4 hour game or 5 hour game or so. And I just had fun. I just liked the characters. I liked seeing the world. I liked exploring. It just has such charm to it, and like even like the scary characters turn out to be not so scary. And at first I was a little confused when I saw like the park ranger. I'm like, well, there's the person I'm looking for. He's right there. Didn't realize it was a whole race of people. I was like, oh, he's right. Oh, like it started clicking. And I thought that they made it very accessible because I'm one of those that I like to try and 100% when I can. And I'm like, I'm gonna get everything. And I went out of my way to go like all the pages, and then at the end, it's like, oh, you only needed 8 of them, and I had like 20. I'm like, you could have told me that from the beginning that you put extra pages. I would have stopped collecting. I'm going out of my way. I'm like, oh, I hope I get them all. I'm doing all the quests, and but no, it was just a really engaging, fun experience. There was no combat, so it's almost like a Zelda style game with no combat, no bosses, and I really fell for it. I really fell in love with the charm, and I had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, how about you?
I do agree. I didn't quite finish the game as Barry did. I've only gone through like the first, probably maybe the first quarter or so of the game because I've only clocked in around like an hour or so. But what I have played, I did thoroughly enjoy. I really like to actually like decide the name on the first creature that you get to do. I thought that was a nice creative way to rope that story in there to actually decide like his name and stuff. And then right at the my final moment is when I finally gave like he came up with his name. So that was pretty cool to see that come to conclusion. And then I was also able to do some of the more stealth style missions, and even that was pretty thoroughly designed. I got some hints of from like the Ocarina of Time when you're trying to sneak past the guards, where they you have to just get past without getting caught. And I did really appreciate all the visual hints where it shows like their line of vision, so then you can kind of plan on where you can what places are safe to stand and places that are safe you could hide in too. And even then, I even did fiddle around with it and did have him chasing me at one point, and then you can actually lose him, which is also really cool too. So I did appreciate like it's not just like one and done, like okay, try again. Like you can actually still get away and still move on. And then if you do fail, then it just kind of restores a previous point just shortly before you got caught. So that's very I thought was very thoroughly designed. You're not like backtracking all the way back through like in like Ocarina of Time where it just throws you all the way back out and you have to re-enter the entire area. It's like just nope, you just failed this one section. You can just now retry it. So
Yeah.
that was definitely very much appreciated. And I also pretty much fully agree with Barry. It was a lot of fun from what I've played so far, and I'll be looking to play more of it as after this review is posted.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to note that this is not a full on adventure combat kind of Zelda, sort of adventure or something like that. It's made for all ages. So the developers have come out and said that this is not a children's game. They didn't make it as a children's game. They made it as a family game. People that can enjoy it from all different ages, and you definitely see that. I think there are elements of this game that are really accessible for younger children, but at the same time, you've got three grown men here who enjoyed playing through this game, and it's so charming and it brings you in so much. There's some issues with like the going in a certain direction. I don't know if it was my controller, if it was more the games. Like I wanted to hop on a certain rock, but I'm like, I have to get the direction in exactly the right spot before I can make that jump. But there's small things that I think can also be like patched pretty easily along the way if they choose to do that. But it never ruined my experience. I've had some times where I played other games where the controls weren't spot on, and these were less than ideal, but they didn't ruin my experience. I still enjoyed the game overall. I think with that in mind, with the idea of like families in mind, kids in mind with these games, you guys both have kids now. What do you guys think? I know Barry, your kid's not ready to play games yet, but as you think about the future, and Greg with your daughter and everything, what do you think about exploring this idea of this Moominvalley with your kids?
I think she would probably like it if she was more into like the platforming genre. Right now, like she's doing a lot more of the action type games through Roblox, but I would definitely, it was something I would consider showing her to see if that she wouldn't mind solving, because I mean there are types of those like platforming style games that she does enjoy, and she does also get into some of the fear elements like getting chased. So like trying to do the stealth missions might be something that she might be more into as well too. So there are other games that we've played that she's enjoyed. So I would easily feel very comfortable showing her this kind of experience to see if there's something that she might like.
I can see him in the future enjoying this and playing with him. I think there's some elements that are probably a little more complicated for kids, like the whole rocks. Like we had to pick up rocks and put them into the rivers to cross and stuff. I can see that being a little bit more difficult. The musical instrument aspect is really cool with the three different instruments, and seeing what they do. Like playing and have the birds leave, or getting the bees to follow. And I'm sure some, like where the bird has to, like swing around you and you have to
Mm.
stop at a certain point to launch the bird. That I could see being a hit or miss with a child. But overall, I mean, it's definitely something that I can see us enjoying, and I could see other families enjoying, especially those that grew up with the the cartoon and the comics and know the characters. But I can absolutely see this being a great family game.
Yeah. I almost feel like it, like not having kids, but I imagine this could be a way to almost kind of teach them video games in a way too. Because I imagine sitting down in the beginning, maybe the kid plays for a little bit and then passes the control over to parent and saying, "Okay, you do this part for me." And then eventually they get the dexterity in their hands and can comprehend what's going on, and eventually they can do it themselves. But even having to like play the flute, a lot of times you're playing it against birds who are swinging around, or bees who are swinging around you, and you have to follow them with the analog stick. And so I think in a way they're kind of learning how to use the controller and how to do more precise movements and things like that too. So I don't know if that was intended by this game, but I feel like making appealing to younger audiences with it, I think it could be one of those things that actually can teach younger players how to use controller, and maybe even improve their enjoyment of video games overall.
I can
And
see
part of
that.
it is also, yeah, and part of it also is trial and error, and that's a lot more visible and more friendly in this version than like in like NES games where it's more punishing. So like that's what makes it an even better family game, because like okay, you figured out like, oh, I placed the rock in the wrong spot. Well, okay, now I can lift it up and move it somewhere else. And there's like not like just one rock, and then if it's in the wrong spot, it's game over. No, you can go grab another one and move it somewhere else and completely. So it is definitely very engaging and still encourages to keep going until you get it right. And it, games still need to have that trial and error process to kind of learn the controls. And yes, the guiding a bird might be difficult, but I mean, just takes could do a few attempts to realize what you're actually doing. So
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very forgiving in that regards. Like I said, with the pages, I think there was like 20 pages or something, and you only need 8. And I was like, oh yeah, like because they're like, oh, you got them all. I'm like, oh cool. It's like 8 of 8. I'm like, the heck? I got more than 8. I know I still got more than 8. I will say this. I feel that this game does also have room for improvement. You mentioned a little bit with the controls. I feel like it's also a little rushed. And what I mean by that is if you open up the map, you see this, it's a big map. Like there's a big area, and there's actually a sub area that you go to in the middle of the adventure. I don't know if you've gotten there yet, Steve, or not with the
Hmm.
boat. It's a whole different map, and that's cool. Like, oh wow, there's 2 maps. But did you beat it, Steve?
Almost. I'm like
Almost.
so
So
close. Yeah.
so my big disappointment came because I was like, you have to put in a play. The last thing you do, one of the last things
Yep.
you do is put in a play,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, so I'm going around this stuff and I'm doing these objectives, and I'm like, I feel like I'm at the end of the game already, but I haven't explored the entire right side of the map.
Hmm.
What the heck? And then you do explore the right side of the map, and the entire right side of the map is nothing but running. Like you just run through it. You've got creatures chasing you. You've just got to go around. And like I feel like that was rushed.
Hmm.
Like the whole left side and the center is this big, beautiful area to explore, and there's quests and stuff. And the whole right side, it's just a gauntlet. And it's just so weird that like it's almost deceptive in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I was going to say like that's probably one of the bigger negatives I have about the game is the map itself. Like I think it'd be nice to have them add a little more detail and know like how like because you do have to do some backtracking in this game.
Yes.
I'd say it's a very 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 light form of Metroidvania kind of stuff where you will see some paths that you will not be able to get to because of whatever reason, and usually it's an instrument that you don't have yet, and then eventually you'll get that instrument and then you can come back to get through that path, or there's something that someone will send you on a quest and you have to go find it and then backtrack back to that person to give that or whatever it is.
Well, they do show them where you are on the map. Like it shows like where to
Right,
go.
but it's not as detailed, I think, as
Correct.
some of those. I mean, thinking of Metroid, thinking of some other games like that that tell exactly like I know exactly where I need to go. But for this one, I'm like I had to kind of remember it a lot more than just look at the map and figure out where I got to go. Like there was because there's all these paths that are crossing and everything, and which way do I get around here and how do I get around here? Luckily, you do unlock or open up some shortcuts along the way that allow you to backtrack a lot quicker. But a lot of times I'd find something and I'm like, oh man, now how do I get back to that again? Like what was the quickest path to get back there? Because there's nothing that's going to happen between there and where you got to go. You just got to get there. And so that kind of thing, I think it's just more quality of life kind of improvements that I think would improve. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they designed that entire side of the map to just explore and just have fun, or if that was more like, hey, you know what? We got enough game here for this time and we'll go ahead and call it quits. I don't know.
Did you do that segment that I'm talking about on the right side where you're running around or?
Not yet. I'm just about
Oh,
to
okay.
throw the play. Like
Oh,
everybody is
well, that
like
you have
I've
to do that
gotten.
before the play.
Oh, okay.
It's to get the costumes. You have to go
Oh,
all the
yes.
way around to get the
That is
costumes.
the job that I got to do right now is the costumes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's then you're about to do what I'm talking about. I do also feel to help with the backtracking, zoom out a little bit would be good because some paths, because it's zoomed in a bit, like
Mm,
oh there's a fork. Oh, I don't forget if I have to go left or right because you can't really see far down. You might take the wrong choice. And I'll also say there's a leveling system in this game,
mm,
which we didn't touch on. You level up, and it's a generic level for all your instruments. And like in order to do a puzzle, maybe you need level 3 and you need a particular instrument, the tambourine. If you have or the drum, you have the drum. You have level 3. You can do whatever objective it is. I found as I was going through, as someone who ran through every bush, and I'm gonna grind as much as I can to level
mm-hmm.
up. I never hit a wall. I never hit a grind wall. Like, it was always like, and it almost felt like, what's the purpose of this? If I'm never hitting a wall and every objective I'm coming to, I instantly can do, there's no point in this leveling. So
Yeah.
like, I understand why you put it there. That's neat. But I always found myself like, oh, I'm level 6 and everything is level 4. Now I'm level 7 and everything is level 5. Like I was always ahead of the game. And the highest level is 7, which you need to do for the play. And it's the only place I saw a 7 was with the band instruments in the play. 8 is the cap. I got level 8. I can't get any more. It's full up the bar. There's 0 point in level 8 that I saw. There's nothing of level 8. I feel like that whole thing could have been omitted, or they could have added some bonus. Something, oh, you hit level 8. Here's something else you could do, because the whole point of a leveling system is for you to feel progression. But when everything is like just playing normally, even without running through everything, as long as you do quests, you're not going to hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going, and there are actually specific things that are just like for experience. Like there's a woodpecker or something, and you just play the instrument, and he just gives you experience. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Nothing else happens. So there's moments where they purposely just give you extra experience, and like I get it, but I also feel like it's wasted because there's no point. Like you could omit it, and the game wouldn't change.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in the beginning, Greg, you probably saw this in the beginning. I don't know, like I hit a wall early on but it was almost that was their way of telling me, like, you need to go get experience before you can continue on. I think it was like, was still level 1 and I needed to be level 2. But that after that point, I never hit anything else at all because I was running through every bush and doing every side quest and all that stuff as well. But yeah,
I
I
didn't even hit that
wonder,
beginning.
we probably, we didn't necessarily need 7, 8 levels. We probably could have just used 2 or 3, if they wanted to do that, get from level 1 to 2 to start your quest. And then you need to be up to level 3 by the time you do the final thing, because in between wasn't really needed there. And you don't get like extra things as you increase your level, like your flute doesn't play further, or your
No.
whatever. That would have been maybe an added bonus to that's why you need to increase your levels, because of that.
There is an upgrade though. You can upgrade your stamina. There's a
Really?
so there's a quest with an animal near a pot, and he asks you to get some ingredients, and they're ingredients you probably found. There's some mushrooms and seaweed and stuff, and he asks for 3 ingredients 3 different times, and it happens right. And every time you do the quest, you eat the food that's made, and your stamina increases. And after the 3rd time you
Ah,
complete the quest, you get experience, and your stamina is capped. It still depletes like crazy though, and especially with backtracking, like
yeah,
even fully that stamina goes too quickly. But there is a quest right towards the center of the map,
yeah,
that you can increase your stamina. So I
yeah,
was like, ooh, there's like some Zelda style stuff here. Cool. But
yeah,
again, it's completely optional, obviously.
yeah. I remember meeting that character early on, and I didn't have it then, and I forgot about him until this moment when you brought it up. Like, I need to go back and talk to him because I've got some of those ingredients now.
Yeah, I've not made it to that character, but it's good to hear they can upgrade the stamina, because I've just been like running around and like that stamina thing just disappears after like just like 2 seconds. Like, oh geez, I gotta wait for it to go right back up again, and like can't really move on very fast if it constantly is depleted.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Unfortunately, it doesn't like drain any slower. It just makes the bar a little bigger. So instead of like 2 seconds, you get like 4.
Which is still, yeah. I mean, he moves. Snufkin moves pretty quick overall.
Yeah.
I've not run into any issues. Like in the beginning of the game, I think I was like, man, I wish he ran a little quicker. But he moves pretty quick. It's really only comes into times where you want to get someplace, you have to backtrack, you want to get there quicker, or if you're running away from the police, like you're like, I need a quick hide, duck behind these bushes, and I want to run faster. There are times that have been nice, but it's not a huge issue. But yeah, like you guys have said, like it'd be nice if the bar did not deplete as fast.
I mean, I am very thankful that it only applies to running and it doesn't impact like climbing and like carrying things, because that would have been much more hazardous. So I was definitely very appreciative that it only impacts the running.
Yeah. So now, with us not being very familiar with the Moomin world ahead of time, like I'm curious, has this caused you guys to want to look into this magical world of Moomin, the Snufkin world, all that sort of thing? Because we get to meet a lot of characters that we had no idea who these people were ahead of time. These are beloved characters by so many people, and I know, hearing from the developers, they really wanted to put all these different nods to fans of Moomin. But for us, this is brand new. Has this caused you guys at all to go, you know what, maybe I'll look into this, especially now that you have kids and kind of thinking with your family in mind and things like that? Greg, what do you think?
I'm not, since I'm not quite at the point in the game that you guys are at. I still need to meet a lot more of them, but I mean, it sure is interesting. And like even I had mentioned earlier that I still would be more willing to continue playing this game after this video. But um, I'm sure, like just as I get further into the game, I'll get more interest, and then that would want me to get more familiar with like the characters, and like you said, like just introduce them to my daughter and everything too. So I do think that there could be more here, depending on how much further I get in the game and how long that takes.
Yeah.
It really depends on what my son would want. Me personally, I'm nothing against the characters. I already have so many interests and so many things I watch and play, and I just don't have time to start something brand new. But it's something where if my son's looking for something, fun, I know we have like peanuts here, which my wife loves, and this almost feels like peanuts in a sense.
Yeah.
It's certainly something I wouldn't be opposed to, and if you wound up finding something on YouTube or something, or I was watching it, I'd probably sit down and go, "Oh, I recognize those characters," but it didn't. It didn't. I played the game for the game, like being like as a standalone. I really enjoyed the game. As a gateway into the universe. For me personally, no. No, I'm not opposed to it. It's just not something I'm going to seek out.
Sure.
But for other people, I can absolutely see that.
Yeah. And I think that's a good compliment to the game and the developers and the world itself. It's going to be, I think, great. I could assume for fans of the Moomin universe. Like I think they're going to really be drawn in and being able to actually play these characters and see them, in action. I know talking with them, some of the characters they were able to draw this out into a brand new story that's never been told, but they're leaning on elements from the past. So this park ranger, I guess, was a small role in a former book, but they were able to bring it out and make it the entire story almost around him as the main antagonist. And so I think for fans it's going to be good, and for us that we're not fans, I think that's great. Like they created a good game here. And I think for some people it could, kind of you could have that crossover a little bit. So yeah, good job to the developers for being able to do that and draw us in with a property that we had no idea about anything before we going into this. Yeah.
I will say one other thing I do have kind of a little nitpick with, and I'm not going to get too into it because of spoilers, is the ending. I feel like I feel like with a lot of games like this or stories like this, everything resolves itself neatly, a little too neatly. Like it's the world isn't perfect, and you can't like punch somebody in the face 30 times and then just go, "I'm sorry," and then get up and shake your hand and go, "Don't worry about it. We're best friends now. Let's go for shawarma." It doesn't work that way. That's not life. And this game, like, not spoiling, but it wraps up. Obviously, it ends. It wraps up, and it wraps up a little too perfectly. And I'm curious your thoughts when you get to it. But I just wanted a little more resolution, a little more. It's good to teach children that there's repercussions to your actions. That you can do whatever you want, but you have to. You make the bed, you have to lay in it. And I feel like certain actions done in this game, there's no repercussions for, or no lasting repercussions, to the point that I would be like mortified if my kid acted like this, or if someone did this to me, I would not just be like, I totally forgive you. Like everything's hunky dory. Like I'm not saying I'll never forgive, but there's you have to go through those motions. You have to, and you'll see it's. I was to the point that I was laughing at the end. Like truthfully, I was laughing. I'm like, oh my god, this is comedical because of A, how it happens, and B, how unrealistic it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I think that I see it coming. I mean, along the way. I mean, I forget what the little girl's character. They
Oh
all
yeah,
have
she needs to be
some
punched in the
funny
face.
names.
She just needs to be punched in the face. I'm sorry. What a terrible character.
It's true.
She is my least favorite character.
She's very she's rotten. But on purpose. I mean that seems
Yeah,
definitely to be
that's
the character. But yeah, Snufkin just keeps forgiving her and keeps saving her. And but I thought that was really funny at one point where I don't know if did you find her in the well?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and you
did.
pull her up and she says something or whatever, and then you can hit the button and drop her back down again. I was like, yes, that's what she deserves right now.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm doing my job. Why aren't you doing yours?" And it's like, "I am doing mine. What are you talking about?"
Right. Yeah. I've saved you from so many things. I led you to that treasure. What are you talking about?
Yeah, she's a terrible character, and she's terrible on purpose, like you said. But
Yeah.
again, nothing bad happens to her.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, she is fine, and it's like that's a terrible message to tell kids that they can go around and act like spoiled little brats, and nothing bad happens to you. Because in the real world, no, that's not how it works. And yeah, she is by far. I disliked her more than the park ranger. Like to tell you, like she was the real antagonist for me.
It's true. It's true. Well, this game launches on Nintendo Switch and I think a couple other platforms as well on March 7th. And there is currently a sale going on, a pre-sale for $17.99. The final game is $19.99, so you can get a 10% discount. That pre-sale ends the day that the game launches. And there's also some DLC. It's really just an extra flair kind of thing that is $1.99 that also drops that same day. It's called Cherished Keepers. And my guess is that if you are a fan of the Moomin universe, this probably means a lot more to you, but it's a cosmetic DLC that gives you blooming flowers on top of Snufkin's hat and a wooden mouthpiece when you're lost in thought. A wooden mouthpiece that's really just a pipe. So I don't think they can actually say that or something maybe, but they call it a wooden mouthpiece for $1.99 for flowers on his hat and a pipe in his mouth. But $19.99 is the regular price, $17.99 for the sale price, pre-sale price. What do you guys think? Is it worth it? What do you think, Greg?
I mean, I do think it's worth it at this point because it's like I haven't gotten as far as you guys are, but based on like your descriptions of like the story and everything, it sounds like it's very engaging. It goes very thorough, and it's obviously some things could be still improved, but it still sounds like it still would be a worthwhile purchase, and I would give it my recommendation to get it. I think it would be fun for families who enjoy it together, or even just someone looking to be exposed to this universe in general.
Barry?
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Well, it's on the shorter side, 4 to 6 hours or so, I'd say, based on my experience, getting as much. I had a good time. Like I said, I played. I didn't expect to sit there and play through the adventure all in one sitting, and I just was like, all right, like I've seen enough. I could probably, but I want to keep going.
Hmm.
And I went through to completion, and I did have a good time doing it. And like Greg mentioned, with families, I can absolutely see getting more bang for your buck. I could also see them finishing the game and the kids going again and again because of how like easy, like in terms of challenge, there really is no challenge. It's just an exploration. So if you don't like repeats, you may want to steer clear of this game or lock them in a closet and say, "Here, play this on your Switch and leave me alone." But no, I think at $20, I think it's a fair price, and I do recommend it even at full price. I don't recommend the DLC though. $2 for a hat and a pipe does not sound like a worthwhile investment.
No, I'd agree with that too. Yeah, and I think how you put that, Barry, is really important. And it's kind of like it's a storybook come to life. And if you're going to buy a storybook for your family or yourself, and you're going to spend a lot of times 15-20 bucks on a good quality book, probably even more than that a lot of times, and that book is going to be read time and time again. And I think that's what they designed this game to be, is a storybook brought to life. And I think if that's what you're wanting, this is a great deal. Could it be improved? Yeah, we talked about some areas that where they could improve the gameplay quality and things like that. But and maybe some elements of the story or things like that. But overall, I think it's a good product that could appeal to a lot of different people. And yeah, you can speed run it and probably do it in like maybe 3 hours or something like that. But if you want to explore the world and everything, you could still spend a quality time of 6 or so hours in this game, and I think enjoy a lot of it. The music, we didn't even touch on the music, but it's done like, I think it's very atmospheric. It's really good. Like, it drew me in as well. So yeah, there's lots of elements that just feels like a story jumping off the pages, and they did a really good job with that. And we're very thankful to the team behind the game for not only giving us a chance to play it and review it early, but also I got a chance to talk with the development team the other day too. So you can head over to NintendoFuse.com to see a little bit of the information that I gathered from the conversation with the development team as well. And while you're over there, just make sure you bookmark NintendoFuse.com for more information, and subscribe to Nintendo Fuse here on YouTube for more game chats, for more podcasts, for more industry talks, and so much more. Barry and Greg, thank you so much for joining me to talk about Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley.